Paper Mario Sticker Star, often called one of the worst entries in the Paper Mario franchise, arguably the worst. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. This is easily in the top 3 worst video games I've ever had to 100% in my life. Man, I don't like this game. And apparently a lot of other people didn't like this game either, especially when it released. A lot of people actually begged me not to make this video and just not rank the chapters. Excuse me, worlds in Sticker Star. But I was too devious for my own good, and I was a sneaky little creature who adheres to no begging. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not the worst game on the face of the planet. That probably goes to Vroom in the Night Sky. But it is a very bad Mario game, especially Paper Mario. Like, legit, this game could have been good if the devs switched it up a bit. But nope, they didn't, and this is what we got. Anyway, I just want to give a quick little disclaimer really quickly, because I know some of you are going to attack me in the comments in this one. But please keep in mind, this is just my opinion, and my opinion does not affect yours. You're entitled to your own opinion, all that jazz and all that stuff. Anyway, let's go! World 5. Where the hell do I even start with World 5? I guess the beginning is a good place to start. I have close to 0 good things to say about World 5. I mean, come on. You're traveling through a jungle. A freaking jungle. Generic as hell, jungle. Okay, well, majority of this world is just jungle mayhem and maybe a banana tossed in, and not in a good way. 5-1 is really annoying. You gotta chase down Shy Guys like an episode of Cops to get 3 bridge pieces back and slap them back together. That's literally it for 5-1. At least that's all I remember. And honestly, a lot of it just isn't very good. And to be honest, 5-2 isn't much better. 5-2 is where my stress levels went through the roof with that damn cheat sheet section. The biggest problem with this is that it takes way too long to steer your raft, and you can easily get smashed into. And fun fact here, well, it isn't necessarily fun, it's just a fact. 5-2 is the only level in World 5 that has multiple comet pieces. That felt fucking personal at that point. So, you gotta deal with this annoying menace of a cheap at least 2 times, I think. Oh! And as if 5-2 can't get any worse, you have to paperize in this very specific spot to see the paper and fix it. I passed that thing so many freaking times because I thought it was part of the background. After you deal with that whole mess, you would think that you don't randomly have to paperize again, right? Wrong! You gotta paperize in a random spot again to get to 5-4. Another fact here, I had to pull up a goddamn guide to figure that one out. And if you've seen my last video, which was the Super Paper Mario chapter ranking, you'll know full on that I hate using guides in video games. They take the fun away. The only reason I made an exception in this case is because I was at that point going on 4 hours of looking for this thing. And I'm not gonna lie, after hunting that thing for 4 hours, I was gonna snap. Now, you'd think that the bosses would save this, the bosses would save this, it'll be fixed. Well, you're wrong there too! The chain chomp fight is very confusing to me, and it took me quite a few tries to understand what I had to do. But Petey Piranha's boss fight, sure, it was actually kind of difficult for me. I still didn't like it. I still don't like it to this day. I despise that boss. It's easily one of my least favorite bosses in the entire game. And yeah, after I beat him, I was celebrating, and then I put the game down for a bit. Moving on. I'm pretty positive that almost everyone hates World 3 as much as World 5, if not even more. And before you all feed me to the piranhas, I know it's the only chapter to really have any story relevance in this entire game, which, now that I say it, that's kind of a problem. Now, what makes this chapter so bad? Well, I'm gonna set you up with this. Most worlds have 4 to 6 levels, but not this one. Chapter 3 has 11 levels. You heard that right, 11! We jumped into the gosh darn double fucking digits. I don't know how we did that, but we did. Hell, some of the levels you're not even going to remember down the line. The only ones I even remotely remember are 3-11 Holy Thicket, the spider level, Wiggler's house, Sniff It or With It, and 3-12 Whitecap Beach, where you fight Gooper Blooper. Wait, actually this has 12 levels, what the fuck? That doesn't help its case one bit. I actually really liked fighting Gooper Blooper. He was probably my all-time favorite boss in the game. Otherwise, this world means nothing to me. There is literally nothing here. You just find the 4 Wiggler segments. That is literally all. Nothing else. Just find those 4 segments and then you're done. That is literally it. I mean, I guess you could try to cure the poison in this world, but that feels lackluster at best. None of the segments feel too different either. It just feels like the same boring as hell task 4 times in a row. Probably because it is. I don't like World 3 all that much, and a lot of people I asked said that World 3 is pretty damn forgettable. Maybe if there were less levels to worry about, people would have enjoyed it more. Maybe bring it down to at least 8 instead of 12? Sure, 8 is still quite a bit, but it would have been more manageable than 12. Holy shit. World 1 is so fucking boring. I would go to argue that this is the most boring world in all of Sticker Star. The only things I remotely remember that were memorable to me here in this world were the toads unrolling the town, which I still think is freaking hilarious, the windmill area, the final area, which is one of my favorite final areas, and the chapter boss fight with the giant Goomba horde combined into one, which I fucking hated. Now, I know this is the format for a Paper Mario game. Plains, biome, and a big old castle you gotta storm. The biggest problem here is that this is so insanely bare bones and the ideas aren't as fleshed out. At least in the 1000-Year Door, Paper Mario 64, Super Paper Mario, and Origami King, they actually fleshed out their World 1s. Not here. I'd rather play Origami King's World 1 over Sticker Stars any day of the week. I mean, sure, there are some puzzles in the final area I love a lot. However, the boss fight also dragged it down pretty horrendously. That's this chapter's problem. It's just too damned boring. There needed to be more interesting content here. That was the world's problem. If it got more love and more attention, it could have been amazing. But sadly, it didn't. Now, I usually am not the biggest fan of Desert Worlds. Usually these dudes are at the bottom of the ranking. But for some odd reason, this world to me was not terrible. Like, sure, okay, there are some problems. Yes, like, for example, 2-4. I freaking hate that level. You gotta get rid of this guy here with a goddamn vacuum. How the hell does this make any sense? I mean, I guess we can let that one slide. Because unlike the late game, this world doesn't have nearly as many things to deal with. One other problem. I didn't enjoy gathering the building pieces to build the building in 2-5. From the beginning, these chapters felt kind of off. Anyway, aside from those those problems, the Yoshi Sphinx is one of my all-time favorite levels in this game, and it's really well designed and very creative in my opinion. Yes, I love Yoshi. Leave me alone. 2-3, the Catacomb Maze was also a lot of fun, but other than that, this chapter isn't exactly top tier, but it was alright. Now, I know most people might disagree with me that Chapter 4 isn't number 1 on this ranking, but it's number 2. I feel like World 4 was the closest I got to not being frustrated in this game, aside from number 1. I enjoyed this chapter quite a bit actually. 4-1 is pretty good, a little simple, but still pretty dang good. 4-2 is also pretty good, but I do not remember most of it, sadly. 4-3 had some fun as hell blue hunting, but I was not too big a fan of the big blue fight. I also really enjoyed the ski lift in 4-5. It was actually decent and quite enjoyable. The minecart chase in 4-6 was also pretty fun, giving me Donkey Kong Country vibes. But the only problem I have is that I didn't enjoy the Mr. Blizzard boss fight all too much compared to Blooper in Chapter 3. That's, I feel like, the biggest problem with this chapter. The boss fight just didn't hold up. The world itself was actually like a 8 out of 10, but the boss fight is like a 4 out of 10. So it could have been a little bit better, but yeah, that's all I have to say about Chapter 4. Now, I know some of you might give me flack for putting the shortest damn chapter in the game at the very top of the list. But again, hear me out. These two levels are actually really damn good. Like, no bullshitting here, they're pretty damn good in their own right. I love how this takes place on Bowser's airship. I was so glad to see that airship again, and hear the theme again as it's one of my all-time favorite themes in all of the Mario world. The airship is easily one of my all-time favorite areas in this game, and to be honest, yes, I'm aware it's for the most part a gauntlet for XP before you fight Bowser, but I still like it. The castle isn't all too bad. Sure, I know there's just the Kamek fight and the Bowser fight. So let's talk about the Kamek fight real quick. The fight is actually pretty alright for a final area. The mainly annoying thing is that all of your stickers get turned into fucking flip-flops. Fucking hell! That was just mean, man! But I agree with what Kirsty said. Flip-flop him! Basically, this fight is just flip-flop from here, flip-flop from there, and flip-flop him until he fucking croaks. Now that ain't too bad. Bowser, on the other hand, man, he could really use a video all on his own. But to keep it short, I cried only once during this game, and it was because of damn Kirsty. And I think the boss fight was awesome as hell, and fulfilling to play, fulfilling to beat, and the ending was dope as fuck. A conclusion that is actually good for a not so good. Amazing peoples, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I sure had a good time making it, except not reliving the insane trauma this game gave me trying to 100% it. Anyway, I have to remind you guys to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Also, a huge thank you to ErosX for doing the thumbnail. It turned out amazing and I really like it a lot. So, with that out of the way, I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Take care, guys. Remember to practice self-care and look after yourself. Bye!